Welcome, everyone, to this breaking news special edition of the Mad Nerds podcast with Mike and Dave. I'm, of course, your host, Superhero Deuce. I am here with Mike.
Yep, Mike is the hat, just like always, wherever you can find us on the internet.
And just when we thought that things could not get any bigger than DC announcing their full slate of films and the Avengers Age of Ultron trailer leaking a week early, well, Marvel held a special event today in Los Angeles for fans and media members alike, where they announced all of their Phase 3 films, just blowing nerds completely, minds blown, everything is blown. They have told DC, here is our plan, take that and do with it what you will. Nerd fans, today is a great day to be a nerd.
Yeah, to use a poker analogy, Marvel just pushed all their chips into the middle of the table and said, well, what do you got? Let's go.
And the best is they already know what DC has, and so it's going to be a fight. It's going to be great.
Yeah, well, that was DC. What DC did a couple weeks ago when we did our first breaking news thing was they pushed all their chips in, and now Marvel is now seeing they're all in, if you will, to keep it with the poker thing. And now we just got to see at the end of 2020 or whatever, whoever turns over the most money is obviously the winner in this, right?
Oh, exactly. I think ultimately there was one big difference between the two, is that Warner Brothers announced this in a shareholders meeting, and it was a closed room thing, and everything had to leak out, whereas Marvel was like, bring your camera phones, bring everything. The media, you're all welcome to come out, blast it out. Here's some high def images of the title pages, and man, oh man, did Marvel do this as only Marvel can and only Marvel does.
Well, exactly. Marvel plays into the current, social media generation, while Warner Brothers seems to be living in the very old school, like 1940s type thing, where only the press needs to know about this, or like our inside people, nobody else needs to know until we're ready to let them know. But then you can't do that anymore. It doesn't work that way.
Right. And one thing that I found interesting before we get into all the films, just one last note, is that with Warner Brothers, this was very much we need you to hear this so that you continue to have faith in what we're doing with Man of Steel and Batman v Superman, because we just need you to know this so that you don't bail out on your investments. Whereas Marvel was like, man, we've got all this figured out. We might as well just announce it and give the fans something to chew on. It's like, okay, thank you. We'll take it.
Marvel being backed by Disney now is a huge reason why they can just do things the way they feel like it. They could just kind of get willy-nilly with their press releases and whatever, because they don't have to worry about losing a lot of money, because Disney's going to make money in other places, and then Marvel will wind up getting some of that money from them.
Right, and even vice versa. Disney's got to be happy to be getting some of this Avengers money. I mean, billions of dollars are changing hands here, stuff that's beyond our comprehension here, just the people of the nerd level. So this is all just huge, is what we're saying. And, the fact that Marvel is a proven commodity, they know they're going to make money, even on their obscure films like Guardians of the Galaxy. I mean, that was the thing, is if Guardians works, everything else is on the table, which we're going to get to kind of the darker counterpart of the Guardians near the end of our discussion here. So we're just going to go right down the line. We're going to share what we have heard. We're going to share the speculation, the things that are confirmed about these films, and it's going to be an awesome time. So the first one, this is the one that has been kind of out in the news for weeks, but it's finally just now been confirmed, and that is Captain America Civil War, coming in May of 2016, featuring Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr., Captain America, Chris Evans, and the big surprise, big reveal of the day, Chadwick Boseman as Black Panther.
Yeah, this is something that I've been saying needs to happen since we started this show about 5.5, 6 weeks ago. And now it's officially confirmed, even though we kind of had the soft confirm when we first started talking about this. But Chadwick Boseman being Black Panther is going to be huge for Marvel, because he's the hot, African American actor right now. He was in 42. He was in the James Brown movie. He was in something else recently too. So he's got that big star that he can bring in.
Yeah, he was in 2012, and I believe he might have been in 12 Years a Slave, unless I'm thinking of somebody else.
I think that's a different guy, but...
Different guy.
But this is Marvel's premiere, not counting current Captain America. This is Marvel premiere one, African-American minority guy. So to get one of the hottest actors to play that role is great for them, and I don't see why it wouldn't be, the summer blockbuster or whenever it comes out, blockbuster that they expect it to be.
Yeah, Black Panther. Of course, Captain America: Civil War is coming out on May 6th of 2016. And the interesting thing for me was this is the guy that a lot of people were fan casting. Like, oh, who's going to be Black Panther? Well, Chadwick Boseman would be good. And all of a sudden, oh, he is Black Panther. So it just goes into those things where Marvel knows what they're doing. He looks just like T'Challa. I mean, and the best part is, Mike, you mentioned he's like their, cornerstone black superhero, if you will. He's not just black, like African American, because, like Luke Cage is also under that description and some others. He is African, straight up African, so he's going to have an accent. He can't be an Americanized because that's not going to work. So where I'm looking at this is this film, just kind of talking plot here. Obviously, Chadwick Boseman is honored to be this part. He's going to be costumed in it. We've seen some concept art. With Vibranium, we kind of speculated that the shield was going to come into play here. He needs a new shield, or he needs to have this one repaired either way. And who's the king of Vibranium? Well, literally, it's Black Panther and the nation of Wakanda. And the way that this movie was talked about was that it's not so much going to be in the comics like a registration act type thing, but more of, okay, who are these heroes answering to? There's a lot of fallout from Ultron. Who do these superpowered beings answer to? Is there a government order that they're answering to? Is there some kind of hierarchy? And, of course, Captain America is in, the position of freedom, whereas Iron Man is in the position of order. And Wakanda is going to have to take a stance on this. I'm really curious to see how this is all going to play out.
Yeah, this is... I know they're not, like you said, they're probably not going to go with the exact registration versus non-registration thing that the actual Civil War comic was based on. But
right, Kevin Feige confirmed that today. They are not going to go that route because in their universe, it's actually impossible. Everybody's identities are pretty well known at this point.
Exactly. But we have this thing where T'Challa was, in the book, kind of the guy that was like, look, guys, I'm not involved in this. This has nothing to do with me. I'm over here in Africa. I'm hanging out. I'm kind of not involved. But I am a king. I am a dignitary. I have to go speak with these United States, government officials about superpowered beings because I am one. So, they're trying to both pander to him. So it kind of puts him in the middle. Not as big in the middle as Spider-Man, say, would be in a Civil War type movie, but this is big for Black Panther if they decide to go that route.
Right, so definitely expect some more news on this in the coming weeks and months. The fact that they're already getting this out there, it's about a year and a half away from its release date, so you will start hearing further casting news, some other things involving that. Of course, Bucky Barnes, the Winter Soldier, is going to be back. I'm really curious to see where he's going to fit into all this, because I thought Captain America 3 was going to be about Captain America and Bucky reuniting. Now, it very well still may be that way. But it might be under different circumstances. And same thing, Falcon is probably going to be back. We've heard rumors maybe Hawkeye and Black Widow. So this movie's taking a very interesting shape right now. And what a lot of you may be wondering is, okay, where does Spider-Man actually fit into all this? Because we've speculated about it. Mike just brought it up. Spider-Man is really like a key to that story if they can pull it off. Kevin Feige was asked about Spider-Man and other types of casting things involving other films, and he said pretty much, if you didn't hear it on this stage today, it means that either it's just a rumor and it'll never pan out, or we aren't done working it out yet. So that's a detail of take that for what you will. It doesn't mean Spider-Man's going to be in it. It doesn't mean that he won't. I think they want him. It's just a matter of is Sony willing to play ball, and will Andrew Garfield be the Spider-Man, or does Marvel get to make their own Spider-Man using somebody else? So very interesting stuff.
Yeah, I mean, Spider-Man... In my opinion, Spider-Man is the main character in the Civil War thing. He's part of every tie-in, it feels like, and all that stuff if they were going to get him in that movie. But let's move on from Civil War, even though that's probably my favorite of what was announced.
Right, we will discuss that plenty over the coming weeks and months.
Yeah. So let's get to the next part. So after Captain America, David, who comes next? After the Captain America 3, what comes after that? What did Marvel announce?
They announced that Doctor Strange will be the next film in Phase 3 on November 4th of 2016. So this was moved back. Originally it was going to be around June, July, but they decided to move it back a little bit, of course. There's been some news, like I was just saying, that Kevin Feige was asked about casting and other things of which have been speculation. There's been some news that Benedict Cumberbatch of this TV show Sherlock and Star Trek Into Darkness, among many other things, is in negotiations to become Doctor Strange. Now, those, of course, were not confirmed today. Kevin Feige said he won't comment on any of that because when it's confirmed, they'll announce it. So Doctor Strange, that's pretty big, coming out in November of 2016. You're going to hear a theme of November movies, by the way, for Marvel. They tested it with Thor. It works. Let's keep doing it. This is what I'm excited for because we're going to get to see the Scarlet Witch, of course, in Avengers Age of Ultron. So you're starting to get that magic side of it. Doctor Strange, I'm excited. I like bringing more magic and more mythos, into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I think if Benedict Cumberbatch is cast, I think he's a good choice. I don't think that there's really some of the names I've heard out there as well. I don't think they're bad choices, like Joaquin Phoenix. I think he'd be a good choice as well. So this is an exciting movie. This is showing that Marvel is not afraid to go outside the box on a solo film with somebody who's a little bit weird.
Yeah, this is definitely a guy who I'm not really all familiar with. He's very, like you said, he's the magic side. He's not the super-powered being, the super strength, the super, this, the super that. He's conjuring up spells. He's a weird dude. Doctor Strange, I mean, it's not just like a clever name.
No, he is legitimately a strange fellow, Dr. Stephen Strange. Of course, they dropped that Easter egg in Captain America the Winter Soldier when they're interrogating Agent Sitwell on the rooftop. He mentions Stephen Strange, so it's like, okay, well, now we know it's coming. But this has been kind of the least kept secret in Marvel. Just a little bit of background, if you aren't familiar with the Doctor Strange stories, he, of course, has a couple different things that could be Infinity Stones. We're not sure. He could have the Eye of Agamotto, which we believe we saw in the first Thor film. He has a couple interesting villains that we may see. We may see Baron Mordo. We may see Dormammu. We could see the Hood. It could go anywhere. There's a lot of magical elements that they could introduce with this. Like I said, there's a lot that we don't know, so we're not going to spend too much time on this film, but we're just excited. It's another different aspect and probably a film with a different tone than we've seen from Marvel. This could be a dark magic film, or it could be a light magic film where it's got some humor in it, or it could just be super serious since it's right on Halloween.
Yeah.
And they announced a director for that as well. I will try to find that for you right quick.
Well, I mean, he's also involved in this Civil War storyline in the comic books too. I knew I'd seen him somewhere, but that's why I haven't gotten to his books on my read through of Civil War. But he is involved in that somehow, so maybe he does get like a small little taste in the Captain America movie.
Right, I think he's going to at least get a mention in that movie. He is one of course, the Illuminati. He's one of the smartest men in the Marvel Universe, which I think is kind of cool that over the next couple of years we're going to get most of the smartest men in the Marvel Universe. With the exception of Reed Richards, who of course is owned by Fox in the Fantastic Four and those terrible films that'll be coming out soon.
Professor X.
Yeah, you have Professor X, who isn't going to be in that, and then Reed Richards. But other than that, you've got Tony Stark, you have Hank Pym, and you have T'Challa is considered one of the smartest men in the Marvel Universe, and Stephen Strange. So Black Bolt is also a member of the Illuminati. So if there's going to be a solo Hulk film, it's going to be way in the future. But Marvel's Illuminati, to be specific. None of that weird government stuff. None of that. Marvel's Illuminati. So just to confirm, the director of Doctor Strange will be Scott Derrickson. That was officially confirmed today. So a lot of fun going on at the MCU, and they've got a director, so that means they're serious.
Yeah, let's not forget that Namor, the Submariner, was also...
Oh yeah, Namor, which is kind of in that studio black hole, if you will. Nobody really knows who owns him, so probably won't be seeing Namor anytime soon.
But, so they had Doctor Strange, Captain America, and then we got a nice little surprise that Guardians of the Galaxy 2 is actually moving up a couple of months.
Right, it was originally thought to be in July, and thankfully they moved it up to May 5th of 2017, and in typical Guardian style, they just kind of scribbled over it on the original and said, okay, well, here is how it's actually going to go, and they just did. It was hilarious. Definitely look up some of this concept art. We may have some of it, links to some of it in the video on YouTube. If you are on our YouTube, Mad Nerds AZNV, feel free to check out the art that was released, the posters with each of these films. So that one, Mike, I'm not surprised. It's clearly, they said that the way they want to do this is have their established properties go in May, and then have some of the newer stuff or less established stuff come after that. And with the success of Guardians, being the top grossing film in the United States this year, this is no surprise that they moved it up into a key window in May.
Yeah, that's a big time. You get that early summer blockbuster type feel for the movie. And of course, it's a sequel, so it's an established thing where everybody's going to want to go see it, and they're just going to, like we've been saying, I mean, our last full episode was titled Take My Money. This is one of those things where it's going to, like, in May, people are getting out of school, people are excited for the summer, and then you get a great movie like this, because I'm just going to go out and say it's probably going to be good.
Oh, yeah. James Gunn is returning for the sequel. The entire cast is back, so it's only going to do good things, especially because now they know that their stuff works. It's not like a theory out there.
Yes.
So just a couple things. You're probably going to see the Collector's going to be back because the Ether is still there as that Infinity Stone. Of course, the Nova Corps have another Infinity Stone. I'm guessing this is going to be Thanos' movie. He's probably going to be one of the big bads, if not the only villain in this film. And also expect to see Adam Warlock established in this film, a key character of the Infinity Gauntlet story in the Marvel Universe. He, of course, has another Infinity Stone, if they stay true to the comics. He has the Soul Gem. So big things. This could be the movie that really just sets up the big event that we're going to talk about here in a few minutes.
Yeah, also, you get the return of Dave Bautista as Drax, which was my whole favorite part of the movie, being a WWE fan, and of course just all his ridiculous, unintentional humor.
Yeah, fair to say he was probably the biggest surprise of Guardians of the Galaxy and how great of a performance he put in. Of course, it was perfect casting, but, he delivered his lines well, he did the comedy well, and of course he's great in action, so that's exciting as well. And you're going to get, Zoe Saldana back. Of course, she's having a baby soon, so she'll be well past that. She'll be able to do some stunts as well. You could see a lot unfold in this film. You're not going to see Howard the Duck. That was probably just a one-time Easter egg. But still, this just shows Marvel is confident in this property, and they said, you know what, you love it, you're welcome, here you go.
Yeah, the soundtrack is great. I'm sure they'll get another great soundtrack out of this one, too, because they're making money on that soundtrack thing, man. They released the Guardians of the Galaxy 1 soundtrack on, cassette, and people are going nuts because it looks like what Star-Lord had in the film.
Right, and of course, at the end of Guardians 2, we saw, Awesome Mix Volume 2. So that's going to be, they've got to be playing through that. That's just going to be even more awesome. We'll probably get to meet Star-Lord's dad, I'm guessing, in that film, or at least figure out who his dad was. You might get Nova. So in other words, Guardians of the Galaxy 2, a good thing the first one worked, because the second one is going to be just awesome and epic and possibly have several new heroes and villains introduced. I'm thinking maybe even the Black Order, but I may save that for a different film.
Yeah, they're gonna have to do something to, kind of keep that ball rolling for Marvel, because only 2 months later, we got Thor 3, entitled Thor Ragnarok.
Right. Yep. Thor took the place of Guardians around when Guardians was going to be released, and they just said, okay, well, we'll put Thor right around there on June 28th of 2017. And of course, Loki is sitting on the throne of Asgard right now. If you didn't see Thor: The Dark World, or you forgot how its plot went, Loki is impersonating Odin. So Thor returned to Earth, and he's probably going to end up back in Asgard after the events of Avengers: Age of Ultron. And if you're not familiar with Ragnarok, it's essentially the end of the world in Asgard and all the 9 realms. It's a huge event in Norse mythology and in Thor. Big thing. This could be probably the Thor movie that we've been waiting for. He's been very depowered in his own movies. Of course, in the first film, he was completely depowered for most of it. And in the second film, there was a lot of, tension going on and, universe building of Asgard and such. And it was a good film. But we have yet to see Thor completely unleash, and I want to see Thor just go nuts in Ragnarok against whoever his villains are.
Yeah, that's going to be great. That opens up a lot of doors as far as the villains and stuff go for Ragnarok. We were talking a little bit, trying to get on the same page before we got on the show, and you were mentioning about 8 or 9 different people that could go. You want to list those for the viewers? Or the
Just a few that, of course, we already know that there's a bit of magic from Asgard, because if you watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in Season 1, Sif came to Earth, who's, of course, one of Thor's warriors from the movies, because Lorelei, the seductress, had come to Earth and was wreaking havoc on people. Now, this is important because Lorelei, the seductress, is related to Amora the Enchantress. And if Amora the Enchantress is one of Thor's best villains from the comics, her and the Executioner Scourge are two great villains of Thor's that tend to work very closely with Loki. So I would say that's essentially probably a sure thing you're going to see them, because why would they go this far and then not use them? And then, of course, Fenrir the Wolf is another interesting one. But the one that I truly expect to see is Surtur from Muspelheim, the fire demon. He's a great, great villain, and even Loki is terrified of this guy. So he lives in Muspelheim. You could get, of course, a story of Loki's family. He has a daughter that lives in Hel, Hel, in Norse mythology. They could go several different routes, but the one thing I will tell you to expect to see, this is probably going to be the movie that Thanos gets the Infinity Gauntlet from Asgard's treasure room. Because if Loki is in charge, there's nothing, and he and Thanos already know each other. They've already worked together in the Avengers. I guarantee you that this is the setup for Thanos to get the Infinity Gauntlet and essentially start assembling a team of villains to take on Earth.
Yep, that would be the biggest takeaway from this movie, besides Thor just going, buck wild and hitting people in the head with hammers and all types of other things and lightning strikes and such.
Right, so, it has to happen at some point. Thanos has to have the Infinity Gauntlet, and you're going to find out why here in... we have one more movie to get to, then we'll discuss why.
Oh, no, well, we have a few more.
Yeah, so the fifth movie of Phase 3 is going to be Black Panther, starring Chadwick Boseman as the Black Panther, November 3rd of 2017.
Now, this presents Marvel an opportunity to give people a backstory on this character if they don't already know it. So T'Challa isn't the original Black Panther. His father was, like his father before him and his father before him. So
right, the Panther tribe has ruled Wakanda.
So we could see maybe Ulysses Claw, who we talked about on our main podcast, episode number 5, Take My Money. We could probably see Ulysses Claw as a villain here in killing T'Challa's father, T'Chaka, and then T'Challa rising to become the Black Panther as kind of like a prequel, but and maybe like a flashback type setting to where he goes on to defeat Claw and be his own man.
Right. I think we could see a little bit of a flashback in there as to why the Black Panther wants to go after Claw. Because if Claw has access to vibranium, that could be because he murdered T'Chaka. And I think that would be a great story. To kind of have this little flashback of, hey, Claw was there, he fought T'Chaka and defeated him with the help of some Hydra technology, and then got some vibranium, so that's how he was able to get it to, Ultron. The Avengers Age of Ultron is going to tell us a lot about how all that's going to go. So you could do that. You could also just kind of mention T'Chaka. I wouldn't be surprised if we get some mention of him maybe in Ant-Man and some flashback sequences, because we know that older Howard Stark is going to be there, who of course worked with vibranium. So a lot of different ways they could go with that. They could do that in Agent Carter. They could just have T'Chaka and that, of course, since that's a period piece back to around that time. So this pretty much all but confirms that Claw is who we saw in that Avengers trailer. I would be completely shocked if that's not Claw. It has to be Claw now.
Yeah, exactly. With the way that this is set up, we have the Hydra thing from the last Captain America movie. We have him showing up in the Age of Ultron trailer, which hopefully that's him. And
it's got to be Andy Serkis' Claw.
Yeah, now we have to get him using that's the real thing, is if he has some sort of Hydra or special technology to where he can use the sound as a weapon, because that's his biggest thing, then we are for sure going to know that that's Claw and that we're heading towards a Black Panther fight.
Right, of course, the other villain that you could see in this, which would be true to the stories of comics as well to a certain extent, would be M'Baku, the white gorilla, and his tribe, coming to dethrone the Black Panther's tribe with the help of Claw. If you saw Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes animated series, that's how it went in that. T'Chaka was on the throne. Claw helped M'Baku take out T'Chaka, so M'Baku could take the throne, and then there was kind of like a redemption story where T'Challa went and got the help of the Avengers, and then T'Challa took out T'Challa took out M'Baku, and the Avengers took out Claw. And now you're not going to see that happen, because of course this is Black Panther's own film, and you don't want to steal his thunder. But yeah, I expect Claw to use sound. Like you said, Mike, I think that's a great call. I think that I'm not sure if he's going to become sound. I think that that's a little bit of a stretch because there's just a lot going on with that. But I expect Claw to be a very formidable villain for the Black Panther.
I mean, reading up on his earlier incarnations, he had had his hand cut off, so he had a sound prosthetic that he would then use, kind of like Green Lantern uses his ring, or Absorbing Man uses his absorption power to where he can use the sound waves to make whatever he needed to use for his right or left hand. I forgot which one it was, and then just kind of use it from there. But I don't know. I'm kind of excited about the Black Panther thing because he looks the concept art, like we said a few minutes ago, looks great, and I just hope that they can get that to come through. It looks like something from Mortal Kombat. It kind of looks like Noob Saibot to me.
Oh, okay, yeah. I didn't see that initially. Good call, Mike.
Because it has that all black ninja looking thing, but he has the claws of a panther, and it makes sense. But so after Black Panther,
just kind of wrapping up Black Panther real quick. Sorry, Mike.
All right, no, go ahead, go.
Black Panther, of course, as I said, is one of the smartest heroes in the Marvel Universe. So if Claw uses this sound, it'll be a great chance to show how Black Panther is smart and can use vibranium technology to his advantage to counteract what Claw can do. So I just wanted to get that in there, that I think that, like you brought up, using the sound waves is a great opportunity to show how smart T'Challa is.
Exactly, and it shows all the other things about the vibranium that we've learned in the earlier movies, where it repels those, the waves and all that good stuff. But then...
Right. Yep, then...
now we can go on to a super heroine or heroine or whatever you want to say it, a lady hero, if you will. In July of 2018, we get Captain Marvel, known to most people as Miss Marvel, but Captain Marvel is one of her aliases as well. So we'll get Carol Danvers as Miss Marvel. That's her, comic book name, not the actress's name. So we get the Miss Marvel that everybody knows, not the one that was recently introduced in the comic books.
Yeah, absolutely. Another key Avenger, no doubt about it. She's incredibly awesome. She, of course, gets her powers. I'm not sure if they're going to stick to this origin. I hope they do. She got her powers involved in a little battle with the Kree, because she was military, of course, hence Captain Marvel. That was her rank when she was in the military. And so you look at that, and I'm expecting there's been a rumor, and I'm going to say that this is true, and I'm going to explain why. There's a rumor that Carol Danvers, in a sort of weird way, gets a cameo in the Avengers Age of Ultron. And I will say that it is possible because all they have to do is have a fighter pilot with no face and blonde hair and say Captain Danvers, and it's done. There, she exists in the universe. Or you could even do that in Captain America Civil War. Same thing. Have a stand-in, somebody that they just acknowledge exists, and boom, she's there. So you can already look out for that. There's no casting news on this. Kevin Feige said they're still working on a writer and a director and all that good stuff. So once again, a lot that we don't know about this film, but expect to hear about this going forward. And it's interesting the timing of this movie because, of course, she's a major female superhero, so good that Marvel's getting that out. You get your major black, African-American superhero. Something that's interesting is the timing of this comes after the first part of Marvel's massive team-up event. And that is, earlier that year, on May 4th of 2018, the Avengers Infinity War Part 1. So it's been confirmed, the rumor is true, the Avengers Infinity Gauntlet storyline will be played out over 2 separate films.
Yeah, just to match up with, it seems like what DC did, or maybe DC had some sort of inside information from Marvel, and then all of a sudden they know. Now we have 2-part things. DC announced their, female superhero is getting a movie with Wonder Woman. Marvel has their female superhero. Of course, they can't use Captain Marvel in the comic books because DC stole it.
Yeah,
the real Captain Marvel, that's Shazam.
Yeah, it's interesting. And then there was some lawsuits about, well, that's our name, you can't use it, you're only doing that because of this, so now they call him Shazam, and weird. So it's very interesting that they are doing a new Captain Marvel book now because of that lawsuit, and DC has to call Shazam, not Captain Marvel. Really odd stuff. But
yeah, so the Avengers Infinity War, going to be great. That's there's no, we finally get that payoff of Thanos appearing at the end of
the first Avengers
movie. Yeah.
Let's see, 6 years later, you're going to get your payoff for that. But one thing I want to touch on with this is when Marvel released all of their release dates without anything attached to them, this was always my theory, was this is going to be 2 films because this story is so huge and so literally Earth and universe shattering for Marvel that you can't just tell it in 2 hours. You can't even tell it in 2.5 hours. You need 2 films to really flesh out everything. This is my guess. It's kind of like Harry Potter, where the first Harry Potter, when they did the 7th book, but they split it into 2 parts. The first one was very much story-driven, and the last one was very action-driven. I would not be surprised if this is kind of the same thing, because there's so much that happens, and of course you got to reassemble the Avengers. This is just, okay, we're going to put this into perspective for you. This is all the heroes that you will probably see in Infinity Wars. You will see all of the Netflix characters, most likely. So that's Daredevil, Iron Fist, Luke Cage, and Jessica Jones. You will probably see all of the Guardians of the Galaxy. So Star-Lord, Rocket Raccoon, Groot, Drax the Destroyer, Gamora, Adam Warlock if we have him by then, Nova if we have him by then. So you've got all of that going on. And then you're going to have Thor, probably the Warriors 3, because why would there be a universe-shattering event without Thor and all of his buddies? You're going to have, of course, Falcon, the Winter Soldier, Hawkeye, Black Widow, Iron Man, War Machine, Captain America. Yeah, there's a lot of heroes that are going to be involved in this. Oh, Black Panther, Doctor Strange. Am I forgetting anybody?
Miss Marvel. This is the ensemble cast to end all ensemble casts, I feel like.
Yeah, this is, like, see, this is the thing, is like DC Justice League, yeah, that's great, but Marvel's like, we may have 20-something heroes in our film.
Justice League. That's cute. You got a guy that talks to fish. Watch this.
Yeah, Justice League, you have a team of 5 or 6. How cool. Well, guess what? And something that's interesting is the first Justice League movie comes out just a few months before that. Justice League, the first part, actually comes out 2 weeks after the Black Panther film.
Okay. That's bad for... that's so bad for Warner Brothers.
Yeah, Warner Brothers probably didn't see this coming, that Black Panther would come out on November 3rd and Justice League would come out on November 23rd. Oops.
No, well, I mean, just the fact that the Avengers is going to be after that, right? Wait.
Yeah, the Avengers comes in May of 2018.
Yeah, so the Avengers, like, that's going to be... there's no getting around it. Like we always say, there's just going to be that comparison. But once the numbers come out for, like, how much each movie is going to make, people are not going to base it on how... well the movie was made or, what story was better. They're just going to base everything basically off of how much money it made, which is telling to a company standpoint, but it's for a fan service thing that may not be, the best thing that happens to either company.
Right, and ultimately, like we've been saying, we win. We, the fans, are the ones that truly win. So, kind of going along that Infinity Gauntlet thing, I just want to say, you're probably going to see Loki because it's going to be a team-up. Like, it's not just going to be Loki. It's not just going to be Thanos. You're probably going to see Loki in that. You're probably going to see Nebula on Thanos' side because she's a huge part of the Infinity Gauntlet storyline. And also expect to see, of course, Enchantress, almost like a Masters of Evil type thing from the comics. And this would be a hell of a time to bring the Red Skull back into things. Saying, hey, he's been with Thanos this whole time. He's the one who told him about Earth. Like, yeah. That's the place, Other than, of course, that the Tesseract is there. I wouldn't be surprised if the Red Skull makes his return in that film.
Yeah, that would be good, especially with what's going on in the comic books now with that Axis thing. It'd be a huge place to get him back in. And especially because he's involved in Civil War as well. Just like Miss Marvel, just like all of the heroes that you mentioned that could be available in this. So there's a lot of places that they can go if they want to tie this in. Of course, I mean, they're all tied together because it's the Marvel Universe, but where they can put little Easter eggs in each movie to kind of build towards this.
Right, and of course, Baron von Strucker, the head of Hydra, as far as we know, should also be in this film because he's clearly working with Thanos right now. One rumor that's kind of been put out there that I'm going to address now because it's the perfect time is the Inhumans movie. It's now confirmed. This is another one that's been thrown out there by Stan Lee and other people, and they're like, "Oh, you're nuts! Why'd they ever do Inhumans?" November 2nd of 2018, the Inhumans are coming. Now, Mike, at first glance, you probably have you have a little bit of knowledge of Marvel, but to say Inhumans is probably like, what? What's Inhumans? You know?
Yeah, if I hadn't read, it all comes back to Civil War for me. If I hadn't read any Civil War and seen, the things with them going out to space to visit the Inhumans and Black Bolt and Medusa and Crystal talking and stuff like that. So I have a little, very, very small knowledge, much like, Doctor Strange. I have a very limited sample size to pull from to know what's really going on with these guys.
Yeah, so the interesting thing here is there's been some rumors and speculation and opinions that possibly the Terrigen bomb may get dropped in Infinity Wars, which would create the Inhumans. I don't think they're going to go that route because they've already established the Kree. I'm thinking this is going to be Kree experimentation. I think that that's the route that they're going to go, and that the Inhumans, they just kind of open the film and expect you to understand, okay, listen, you know who the Kree are. Well, the Kree have been on Earth for a while. They took some humans into space and started experimenting on them, thus creating the royal family of Black Bolt, Medusa, Karnak, Crystal, so on and so forth. You get a ton of Inhumans there. And of course, Black Bolt is the main one. Now, something that's been speculation, Mike, I want to get your opinion on this. Vin Diesel dropped a little bomb that he had been meeting about something huge for Marvel, and he said it was like a team-up crossover thing, but it wasn't Guardians. And that he mentioned something, he's like, I'm discussing something very inhuman with Marvel, and we're like, he's just screwing with us. I think he could be Black Bolt.
I mean, it would make sense because you wouldn't have to use his voice, because if he did, then everybody would be dead.
Yeah, it's the most OP power in all the Marvel Universe, and if the Inhumans end up in Infinity War Part 2, that'd be the perfect time to unleash it. Like, hey, guess what? We've been playing at how big his voice is. Well, they're going to need him.
Yeah, exactly. If you want to build, of course, people are like, well, he's Groot. Is he really Groot, though? Like, saying I am Groot, does that make him Groot?
No, it doesn't. The thing is, because Black Bolt doesn't talk. He has a thing on his head so that Medusa can talk for him, which is what makes him so cool. And they do have a huge story involving Thanos and Attilan, their city, or Attilan. I've never been sure how to pronounce that place. But there's a huge storyline involving them and Thanos. So easy to bring them into it. I was hoping that they would bring them in, because I love Black Bolt. He's one of the coolest designed characters. They have an amazing story. So what I'm expecting to see, just kind of for the people out there, this is the, Inhuman team, the royal family. You have Black Bolt, you have Medusa, you have Karnak, Gorgon, Triton, Crystal, Lockjaw the dog, and Maximus the Mad. Once again, another great storyline going on right there.
Yeah, and this is another thing, like I just said, it all comes back to Civil War for me. They're tied into that too, so expect to see little things dropped in throughout all these movies, because if they do have some sort of magic anti-registration thing, or however they're going to do the Civil War, expect something to happen that they're going to have to go out to space to handle.
Yeah, and so, like I said earlier, this is probably going to be the dark version of Guardians of the Galaxy. Guardians of the Galaxy was a lot of fun. The Inhumans tend to be really serious and have a lot of issues like going on, and especially now in the comics, they're kind of treating the Inhumans like the mutants, where nobody really knows what to do with them because they do get integrated into society. And everybody's like, well, where did they come from? This Terrigen mist kind of creates Inhumans. So like I said, the Terrigen bomb theory, totally good. But I'm not sure if they're going to go that route. They could, and it'd be awesome.
Yeah, they also have the Kree Skrull War that they could try to build off of, too, that they could put like little Easter eggs for the fanboys out there.
Yeah, several different directions they could go. One villains team that I really expect, kind of coming off of the Infinity storyline, or one of the Infinity storylines, which involved the Terrigen Mist, is that the Black Order is very much involved in this. It's Thanos, one of Thanos' evil teams that he tends to go with. That's Corvus Glaive, it's Proxima Midnight, it's people like that. So don't be surprised to kind of see how this goes, see how a lot of this goes. I would expect that to be the villains team, because like I said, it's probably going to be a darker film. Once again, it's in November, right around Halloween. I would not be surprised if that's where they go with this.
Yeah, that's definitely, looking at who was involved and the people that you just mentioned, like this could be one hell of a team up as well.
Yeah, and just to kind of give you the Black Order members, if you will, we're trying to give as much information as we can so that people can kind of know what to expect. And once again, it's fun for us to discuss this. I mean, this is all stuff that if you'd have told me about this like 10 years ago, I'd have been, that's nuts. Like, how could they ever get all these heroes onto one screen? Well, pretty easy. And I'm feeling like an idiot because I forgot to mention Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch and the Vision as members of the team that would, of course, fight Thanos. I don't know how I could forget them. I apologize to those of you out there who are probably like, what are you doing? All right, so here's the Black Order. The Black Order in Earth 616, which is Marvel's main comic universe, is Thanos, Corvus Glaive, Ebony Maw, Proxima Midnight, Supergiant, and Black Dwarf. Yeah, a lot of darkness, a lot of terrifying things going on there.
Yeah, and of course, they're big into the comics this year. They were in Infinity, that storyline, so they're relevant to current Marvel stuff as opposed to, throwing it back to... Because, I mean, Infinity Wars, the original comic book storyline is 22 years old at this point.
Right, yeah. And so the recent Infinity is, of course, something that we've been talking about. Kind of blending all of them together is what I think Marvel's going to end up doing here. Because you really can only do it once. Like, I don't know if you could do this event again. I mean, maybe you could, especially if you introduce a character that I'm going to throw out there, which is Thane. Mike, have you heard of Thane?
No.
He is the son of Thanos. And he is quite the character. He has the ability to freeze people in amber. It's one of those really interesting powers that you don't hear much about, but he was part of this big new recent Infinity story, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him pop up as well at some point, possibly in this Inhumans film, because he has a little bit of ties to Black Bolt.
Yeah, I'm looking at him now. It does. Well, look at him. He's connected because he has the Terrigenesis thing too.
Yep. There you go.
That's crazy.
This could be. We're telling you, people, this could get massive. Like this could be the complete cinematic universe defining event of Marvel. So going out for the Inhumans, you have the Black Order, you have Thanos. The Inhumans are going to have to come help the people of Earth fight. There could be some really interesting stuff that goes on with that. And so they're all going to have to team up in the final film of the Marvel Cinematic Universe Phase 3. Now, like they said, it's Phase 3. It's not the final phase. That doesn't mean the universe is over after this. The Avengers Infinity War Part 2, May 3rd of 2019.
Oh, man. So now we are established in the comic book movie world that DC's running all their stuff to, I think it said 2020 was when they're going to do the Green Lantern thing. But
yep,
nope,
2020.
Nobody cares about that. So up until 2019... when Avengers Infinity Wars number 2 comes out, that's we're set for the next 5.5, almost 6 years with great comic book content that's just going to continue to just roll out.
Yep, and if you want your Nerd Wars, here you go. May 3rd of 2019, Avengers Infinity War Part 2. June 14th of the same year, Justice League Part 2.
Yeah, I mean they're set up to go head to head with each other both times that the major team up events are released. So
yep, yeah, it's a great time to be a nerd. We are winning big time. So the other character that in Infinity War Part 2 that I expect to see is Death, because of course we heard in the post credit scene of Avengers, to challenge Earth would be to court Death. Well, we know Thanos is in love with Death, who's actually a person in Marvel Comics. She is who Thanos looks up to. He wants everything to do with Death. He wants Death to love him. So there's a lot of places they can go with this. I'm expecting to see Captain America die in one of these films, because Bucky Barnes, the guy who plays him, Sebastian Stan, is under contract for like 7 more films, including the next 2 that are coming up. So he's probably going to take the shield at that point. This will be your universe redefining event. So there's going to be some people dying. You're going to get a lot of stuff happening to reestablish. Okay, we're going to have to change how this is going. S.H.I.E.L.D. will probably get reestablished. tons of stuff. Of course, Captain Marvel will probably, if she's not in the first part of the Avengers film, she's definitely going to be in the next part, because she's going to have experience with aliens. So that Infinity War Part 2 is going to be really interesting. Man, Marvel, way to just get me excited beyond belief, and that's 5 years away. So there's a very good chance I could be taking a child to this event with me. I don't know. Well, I hope not, because my child would be very young at that point. But either way, to put this into perspective, Marvel is doing this as fan service. They didn't have to announce any of this. They did it because they wanted to. Mike, just kind of looking at this list, which of the solo films coming out, or even sequels, so let's leave the Avengers out of it, because of course we're all looking forward to that. Which are you the most looking forward to out of these new characters and sequels that have been introduced?
Well, I want to see the Captain America thing because it has that Civil War title attached to it. But I'm most, like I said when we started talking about it, I'm most intrigued by the Black Panther one. So the one I most want to see, Captain America, Civil War. The one that's most intriguing to me and that I will definitely see is Black Panther.
All right, yeah, I would agree with that. I think the Captain America Civil War one is going to be very interesting because it's going to shatter the heroes. Like that's really going to be your disassembled moment. I'm looking at this, and it's really interesting because I'm actually the most excited for the Inhumans, because Guardians was kind of the thing that paved the way for this. Guardians being successful has said, okay, we have cosmic stuff in our universe. Because there's so many different places they could go with the Inhumans. I'm really curious to see how they're going to do that. And also, how are they going to bring all of this together? This is a massive event. Like, Infinity Gauntlet completely changed the Marvel Universe as the comic fans know it. This is even bigger than that. Like, this is huge because you have a limited amount of time to tell the story. So I'm probably the most intrigued by Inhumans, but actually the movie that I most want to see is probably a tie between Black Panther and Guardians 2. Because Guardians 2, same thing. I'm excited to see how do you build off of the cult success of your film that just like exploded and nobody expected it to. So many different places they could go with it.
Yeah, that's another thing. Like I don't want to pick one. Like you forced me to pick one.
Right, that's the difficult part.
And that's the point of discussions like this is to try and weigh what you want to see the most. Of course, I'm going to. There's no movie that I'm not going to see. I'll go see. Like for DC, as much as I don't really care for Wonder Woman, I'll go see the Wonder Woman movie. Like
right, it's simple out of mere curiosity.
Exactly. I don't know a lot about Doctor Strange. I'm definitely going to see that. You know what I mean? The Inhumans, like you said, like there's a lot of stuff going on here especially in the Marvel stuff that I don't know exactly what it is. So the Marvel Universe movies have a chance to shape my idea of it, and then I'll go back and read like the original stories and be like, wow, this is crazy.
Right, and of course I may start reading I may go pick up the original Infinity Wars comic set. I forgot what the name for all that is. There's a special name for that. But
that huge gigantic omnibus thing.
The omnibus, yeah. I may go out and pick up the omnibus of Infinity Wars simply because I think it's just a really cool a little piece. The thing too, Mike, that I'm looking at these films, these all have an opportunity to be so different in tone. You know, people say, well, we might get sick of superhero films. I highly doubt it. Ant-Man is going to be hilarious. That's coming out, next summer after the Avengers Age of Ultron. Captain America Civil War is going to be a complete thriller, probably just like the last one. Doctor Strange is probably going to be kind of creepy, but also a little funny. Guardians of the Galaxy 2, of course, is going to be funny. Like, it's got to be. Thor Ragnarok is going to be an apocalyptic type event. Black Panther is going to be a jungle film, which will be fun that we haven't had before. Captain Marvel is probably going to be very cosmic-y. I'm not going to say your typical superhero film. They could take that so many different ways. Inhumans, like I said, could be dark. It could be funny. Just depends on what they want to do with it. And, of course, Infinity War is your apocalyptic event. So a lot of variety in your films is what I'm saying. There's going to be some variety. It's not going to be, another superhero film. It's going to be different. It's going to be good.
Yeah, that's what they have. They're going to have to differentiate and have the superhero umbrella. Like, if you want to call a superhero movie a genre, they're going to have to break it up into other little things, like you're saying. So it has to be, can't just be like superhero buddy cop beat 'em up movie. It has to be, there has to be something there that differentiates all of these, 20 some odd movies that are probably going to come out in the next 6 years.
Oh yeah, and expect to see your heroes lose. Other than in Ultron, which you know that they're going to get their butts kicked a lot, expect to see the heroes losing in some of these, especially some of the sequels, where they're just like, man, see ya. Like Infinity War Part 1, I'm sure there's going to be some deaths. Like, it's going to suck, but there's going to be some deaths.
There has to be. Look at how Star Wars, the original trilogy, was set up, where good guys won the first movie, good guys got their butts kicked the second movie, and then good guys wind up winning in the end in what was supposed to be the end of the trilogy. And then, of course, we know how all that goes. Which, as news starts coming out about Star Wars stuff, you'll be hearing about that stuff here too on Mad Nerds.
Oh yeah, the thing is, there's nothing to talk about right now. There's been like some speculation and set photos, but the thing is, well, I don't know as much about Star Wars as probably most people do that love these things. And also, it's not really much to like discuss. When there's something out there to actually talk about, which I've heard the first trailer is probably coming out with Avengers Age of Ultron, which would make sense, Disney. Then we'll talk about it. We will definitely hit on it. So kind of just a couple other things here to hit real quick is, of course, Daredevil is coming out in 2015 on Netflix for Marvel. 2016 is going to be Jessica Jones. 2017 is supposed to be Luke Cage. And 2018 is supposed to be Iron Fist. So they'll already have all of those established. And, of course, The Defenders is the miniseries coming out in 2019, I believe. So it all kind of goes together. If you look at it, you may not see them in the films because they may be off doing their own thing, but you better bet that it's going to affect what they're doing, even if it's not. You've got Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., you've got Agent Carter. Goodness gracious, I don't even know what to do with all this. Like,
yeah,
this is insane. Oh, Mockingbird. I forgot about Mockingbird. She's going to be in those films, too. Gosh, how could I ever forget? See, it's hard to even keep track. This is literally becoming just like the comics, and I love it. I'm having nerd strokes all over the place right now.
Yeah, Marvel has all of their ducks in a row, so to speak, where everything's going to eventually just kind of be wrapped up nicely with a bow. Whereas DC, they're trying to cast the Flash from, that's different from the movie or the TV show one, and then if they ever do Green Arrow, I'm sure it's going to be a different one from what's going on TV. That's a problem that Warner Brothers has that Marvel doesn't.
Yep.
And that's why Marvel keeps getting dump trucks. I'm not talking about little dump trucks. I mean like those big,
not a Tonka truck.
Earth-moving dump trucks that take like half mountains at a time of money, and they bring that right to now the Disney studios, and they dump it, and then they turn it into gold, and then we get more good stuff.
And Bob Iger turns it into little Mickey Mouse statues, and turns it into Iron Man exhibits, and all kinds of stuff. So it's really a lot of excitement for everybody involved, because now we know it's no longer untitled film. By the way, I'm going to call it Fox is going to come out soon with all of their films. They've got a ton of untitled superhero films. We're going to probably hear about those soon. They'd be stupid not to. Everybody else has. Sony, same thing. Sony, you going to come out, you going to tell us something, please? Like, you're a little behind the eight ball. The one thing I hope is that there isn't like a comparison of how good are DC's movies, because right now DC is in the same phase as Iron Man when Marvel was just starting their universe. Like, you have to compare them for what they are at that stage, not for where they are when they happen, because I don't even think that's a fair comparison. Marvel's got this down. By the time the Avengers Infinity War comes out, it'll be 11 years since the cinematic universe was launched.
Exactly. And now I'm on Twitter while we're talking here. One of the guys that I follow that works for Marvel, Arun Singh, just put on his Twitter literally just now, instead of putting Marvel against DC, maybe we can all just be happy to have so many promising superhero films on the horizon, which is pretty much exactly what you just said, and the opposite of how I'm saying everything's going to go against each other, but that's just how it's going to be.
Right. Let's all be happy. We're going to end it on a great note. I'm going to read off all of the films that are coming for the next several years that are superhero based on comics. Here we go. Starting on May 1st of 2015, The Avengers Age of Ultron. Then on July 17th of 2015, you get Ant-Man. Woohoo. Then on August 7th of 2015, you get the Fantastic Four reboot from Fox. So only 3 movies next year. Good, you get to keep a lot of your money. After that, here we go. Here comes the party. 2016. On February 12th, you get Deadpool from Fox. On March 28th, you get Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice from Warner Brothers and DC. Lost my voice there. On May 6th, see, I'm stroking out, everybody. I'm so excited to read this next one, I can't even get it out of my mouth. Captain America 3: Civil War from the Marvel Cinematic Universe on May 6th. On May 27th, you get X-Men Apocalypse. That's going to be good. On August 5th of 2016, you have the Suicide Squad from WB and DC. And then to close out that year, on November 4th, you have Doctor Strange. In 2017, you have Wolverine 3 on March 3rd, Guardians of the Galaxy 2 on May 5th, Wonder Woman on June 23rd, Fantastic Four 2 on July 14th, Thor Ragnarok on July 28th, Black Panther on November 3rd, and Justice League on November 23rd. So you're going to be spending some money at the cinema that year.
What's crazy to me is like people are going to compare DC and Marvel films when they should really be looking at what Warner Brothers and Disney Marvel are doing against Fox and Sony, because those two companies are crapping away their licenses.
Yep, especially Sony's in trouble. Like, Sony needs to have a plan and know what they're doing, because they're in serious trouble. And I haven't even gotten to 2018.
Yeah, keep going. I just wanted to bring that up, that when you mention, like, Deadpool's going to make big money because the cult following that character has.
Yeah, he's Deadpool.
But the Fantastic Four 2 movies, after the flops that they had already, what makes people want to come back to that?
Yeah, exactly. Like, X-Men Apocalypse will probably make money. Like, Fox is doing fine with X-Men. It's what are you doing outside of X-Men? Can you make me like Fantastic Four again?
No.
I hope they do, because I like the Fantastic Four's villains more than the Fantastic Four.
Yeah, just give me a Doctor Doom standalone movie.
Yeah, I like Doctor Doom. I like, Galactus. I like the
Silver Surfer is pretty cool too.
Yeah, Silver Surfer is kind of like your anti-hero. Nobody really knows what to do with him. I like the group. Oh shoot, who is it? It's like X-Ray and I'll think of it. That's gonna bother me now.
Let's get back 2018 now. So we're into 2018.
The UFOs. That's what I was trying to think of. Okay. Back to 2018. So starting off 2018, March 23rd, you have the Flash solo film. On May 4th of 2018, you have Avengers Infinity War Part 1. July 6th of 2018, you have Captain Marvel. On July 13th of 2018, you have an untitled Fox film. July 27th of that year, you have Aquaman. The Amazing Spider-Man 3, they don't have a confirmed release date, but it's going to be in 2018, allegedly. And The Inhumans will end that year on November 2nd of 2018. 2019, so far, there's only 3 confirmed. It's Shazam on April 5th, Avengers Infinity War Part 2 on May 3rd, and Justice League Part 2 on June 14th. And then in 2020, you have Cyborg on April 3rd, and Green Lantern on June 19th. Now, kind of going through this list, Mike, one thing we could speculate is, will there be sequels to Black Panther, Captain Marvel, Doctor Strange, if they are successful? My answer is yes. I expect that you will see more films put out by Marvel in between the ones that they already have existing, if their new properties are successful.
Yeah, if Black Panther goes on to make, huge dollars, why wouldn't you give him a sequel?
Yeah, exactly. There's so many good stories you could tell with him.
There's a lot of stuff that they have going on in, Captain Marvel as well that they could spin into movies.
Right, because she has that cosmic side to her, which is awesome. You could bring Moonstone into it, which is one of her main villains in the comics. A whole ton of stuff could go on with that. But one thing also is that Marvel has made it clear that that the Infinity War is not the end of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's just the big event of this time. They're going to have a Phase 4. Obviously, they don't need to announce that for a while. But it's going to happen. There may be an Ant-Man sequel, because they could tell a lot of stories with him as well. So just one of those things where Marvel isn't done. This isn't the final announcement you're going to get, but definitely this was the big one for a while. So, like we said, that's a great note to end it on. Tons and tons of comic book films coming out. Tons of reasons to get excited. As a nerd, we're winning. Plus Star Wars. On top of all that, we're getting Star Wars. We're getting a new Jurassic Park reboot with Chris Pratt as the lead. Great time to be a nerd. Mike, final thoughts.
Yeah, like we've been saying, great time to be a nerd. I'm excited for all these Marvel movies on the smaller characters that may not get a lot of play unless they're, something that you were into because they spun off from something else. It's big for them. Marvel's going to make big, the buku daras, as my friend Jeff likes to say.
Oh, yeah.
The big money.
And, of course, Hulk and Black Widow, there was some speculation on solo films from them. It's not happening. They are Kevin Feige said they are only going to be in team-up films for now. That's, at least for Phase 3, they are only going to be in team-up films. Hulk, of course, has like a massive contract. He could have a solo film in Phase 4 for all we know, which would actually make some sense.
Well,
but
I mean, this is one of these things where, like, look at the last Hulk movies.
Yeah, we've had plenty of Hulk for a while. We're okay.
Nobody wants to see them. The Edward Norton one wasn't bad, but realistically, like, the Hulk standalone movies, what story could they tell besides World War Hulk?
Yeah, everybody wants World War Hulk. You may get that. Just be patient, people. Let it play out. Because that's a movie that you don't even need Mark Ruffalo for. You just need Hulk and CGI.
CGI Hulk.
And Lou Ferrigno voicing it, and then you can just make that film. Mark Ruffalo is playing Bruce Banner / Hulk, so you won't see that. But just wanted to close that out with that. So, once again, thank you everybody for joining us. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. I have, of course, Superhero Deuce here with Mike.
Yes, Mike is the hat. Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. All the same thing. Check it out.
Yes, and of course, check us out on YouTube and Twitter if you're hearing us on another method other than YouTube. We are Mad Nerds AZNV on YouTube. We are on Twitter. Just search Mad Nerds Podcast or Mad Nerds AZNV. And, of course, like our Facebook page. Let us know your thoughts on this. If you're friends with us, awesome. Let us know your thoughts. If you're not, let us know your thoughts in the comments below on YouTube or on Twitter as we post the link to this. You guys are awesome. We love you. Hello, NSA guy. God bless y'all. Take care.